Welcome! Today, we're going to dig into a blueprint for business that's been around for 1,400 years, but feels, honestly, more relevant than ever. So let's just ask this straight up. We're always hearing about the bottom line, the endless chase for profit. And after things like corporate scandals or the 2008 financial crisis, you can't help but wonder if our modern economy has kind of lost its way. It really makes you ask, is there another way to do all this? And for, well, a massive part of the global population, the answer is a definite yes. They turn to this ancient but incredibly detailed code of conduct for how they do business. For them, faith and finance aren't two separate worlds. It's all connected. And there's this huge emphasis on how you make your money. To really get this, we've got to go back, way back to the very beginning. This whole blueprint didn't start in some modern boardroom. It started in the lively markets of Arabia in the 7th century. So the person who's seen as the model for all this, it's the Prophet Muhammad himself. Long before he was a prophet, he was a well-known, very successful trader, and he was famous for his integrity. People gave him the nickname Al-Amin, which literally means the trusted one. So right from the start, the whole foundation of this business philosophy is built on one thing: trust. And check out this quote from the Hadith. That's the collection of the Prophet's traditions. This is fascinating because it takes business to a whole other spiritual level. It's saying that doing business honestly isn't just a good idea, it's a profound act of faith, one that's worthy of the highest possible honor. Okay, so you've got this foundation of trust, but how does that actually turn into rules? Well, like any system, Islamic finance has some really clear lines that tell you what's in and what's out. And here's the thing you have to understand right from the get-go. The approach isn't to lock everything down. It's actually the opposite. The basic idea is that almost all kinds of trade and business are totally fine, except for a handful of very specific things that are prohibited. All right, let's talk about the big one, riba. We often just translate this as interest, but it's a bit more nuanced. It's talking about any guaranteed profit on a loan that's based only on time passing, with no connection to any real economic activity or shared risk. It's viewed as exploitative because it's basically making money from money without creating any real value in the world of goods and services. And it's not just about interest. There are a few other big no-nos. Ghirar means you can't have contracts with a ton of uncertainty, like trying to sell a fish that's still swimming in the ocean. Mazer and Qimar are basically rules against gambling. Jal means you can't hide important information from the person you're doing business with. And of course, you can't invest in industries considered unlawful or haram. See the theme here? It's all about fairness, being transparent, and avoiding wild speculation. So if you can't just lend money and charge interest, then how does anyone get financing for anything? This is where the whole system gets really creative and honestly pretty cool. It completely changes the focus of finance. The alternative is actually simple, but it has huge implications. It's all about trade. Instead of just lending out money and collecting interest, Islamic financial institutions actually get involved in buying and selling real, physical things. Every single financial deal has to be tied to an actual asset or a service. This slide just lays it out so clearly. Look at the left. That's your standard loan. The bank is just a lender of money. Now look at the right. This is a common Islamic contract called murabaha. Here, the bank is a trader. If you want a car, the bank buys the car first and then sells it to you at a slightly higher price that you both agree on. You pay that back in installments. The bank makes a profit from a sale, not interest from a loan. It seems like a small difference, but it's a completely different way of thinking. And murabaha is just one tool in the toolbox, right? You've also got mudaraba, that's like a partnership. One person puts in the money, the other puts in the work, and they share the profits. Then there's ijara, which is a lot like a lease-to-own plan. Each one of these is just a different way to fund something by actually participating in the deal and owning a real asset. So, okay, this is all based on ideas from 1,400 years ago. What does any of this have to say to us here in our super fast 21st century global economy? Well, it turns out a lot, actually. What's really wild is when you start laying these old principles next to some of today's biggest business ideas. The Islamic emphasis on transparency and fairness, that's what we now call good corporate governance. The focus on social responsibility, that lines up perfectly with the rise of ethical and ESG investing. This idea of balancing profit with the well-being of people, that's the very soul of what we call sustainable business. And if you take away just one thing, it should probably be this. The entire system is built to keep finance connected to the real economy, the world of real goods, real services, and real projects. It's almost like a built-in brake to stop finance from spiraling off into pure speculation and creating those dangerous financial bubbles. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In a time when we're all trying to figure out the proper role of business in our society, this ancient framework offers a really powerful perspective. It suggests that real success, maybe even something you could call a blessing, isn't just about what you sell or how much profit you make. It's about the integrity, the fairness, and the truthfulness you bring to the process itself.